the next video, we will discuss about Michael Faraday is a British scientist who has earned the nickname Father of Electricity for his contributions in developing electricity into a widely used technology. Faraday, who was born on September 22, 1791, studied various fields of science, including electromagnetism and electrochemistry. He also invented the Bunsen apparatus, which is now used in almost every saline laboratory as a practical source of heat. Because many things are related to electricity or electricity, many people call him the inventor of electricity. The magnetic effect allowed us to come up with ideas that would form the basis of magnetic theory. He has made various efforts to disseminate knowledge to the general public. The importance of racial considerations in developing theory and analyzing results cannot be overstated.
High ages Michael Faraday's birthplace is Newington Butts, London, United Kingdom. The family moved to London in the winter of 1790, and in the spring of that year Faraday was born. Faraday was the third of 4 children who only attended formal education. At the age of 14 he was apprenticed as a salesman and bookbinder. During his 7 years working as a salesman and bookbinder gave him many opportunities to read many books, and it was at this time that he developed his curiosity in science. Michael Faraday's birthplace is Newington Butts in London, England. The group travelled to London in the summer of 1790, and Faraday was born in the middle of the year. Faraday was the fourth of 4 children who had just started formal education. I started selling books and selling them when I was 14 years old. Over the last year and a half, I work as a bookseller and distributor, which gives me lots of opportunities to read and study new books. The apprenticeship as a salesperson and bookbinder was discontinued at the age of 20 and opened a lecture delivered by Humphrey Davy. From there he became friends with Davy and eventually became his assistant when the scientist had a stroke caused by nitrogen trichloride poisoning. And from there, he began to develop a unique way of life. Scientific, the captain while assistant to Humphrey Davy, Faraday began his work in chemistry. I managed to find chlorine and carbon substances. He also managed to liquefy some of the gas, investigated alloying steels and made several new types of glass intended for optical purposes. Faraday was the first to invent the Bunsen burner, which is now widely used throughout the world. Faraday began working in chemistry after becoming an assistant to Humphrey Davy. Finally, I found chlorine and carbon. He has also completed the production of several gases, as well as the manufacture of several new types of glass for optical purposes. Faraday was the first to invent the Bunsen burner, now used on a global scale around the world. Faraday worked extensively in chemistry. Identify chemical additives, such as benzene, and reduce chlorine gas emissions. The chlorine liquefaction aims to establish that the gas is a vapor of a liquid having a low boiling point and to provide a more certain basic concept of collection molecules. He has also determined the composition of chlorine clathrate hydrate. Faraday was a physicist who studied electricity and popularized the anode, cathode, electrode and ion. Also the first to learn about metal nanoparticles. Magnetism and electricity. Thanks to his work on electricity and magnetism, Faraday became famous. His first experiment was to construct a voltaic pile with 7 half-cents, stacked with 7 sheets of zinc and 6 sheets of salt water soaked paper. With this construction he managed to decompose magnesium sulfate. Faraday's history of electricity and magnetism is well known. The first attempt was to construct a voltaic pile with 7 half-cents, 8 stacked with 7 sheets of zinc and soaked in salt water. He succeeded in reducing magnesium sulfate with this design. Hans Christian first published the phenomenon of electromagnetism in 1821. It was from here that Faraday then began research aimed at creating a device that could produce electromagnetic rotation. One of the devices he developed was a homopolar motor. In this device, there is a repeated circular motion caused by a circular magnet that extends down to the pool of mercury where the magnet was previously removed. This pillar, the wire will rotate around the magnet if an electric current is detected from the battery. At present, this is the basis of electromagnetism technology. Faraday had his first epiphany when he analyzed two damaged cables and found that the first would be destroyed by the current while the second would be destroyed by the current. This is what is known today as induced reciprocity. The experimental results show that a change in the magnetic field can cause a change in the magnetic field, which was later developed into a mathematical model by James Clerk Maxwell and is known as Faraday's law. In 1845, Faraday discovered that large amounts of matter could cause long-term resistance of an electric field. Diagmatism is the name given to this type of thinking. Faraday also found that the polarization of linearly polarized light can be represented by applying an external magnet to an arc-shaped light. This is known as the Faraday effect. Diagmatism. In 1845, Faraday discovered that many matter exhibits weak resistance to an electric field. This event he named diagmatism. In 1845, Faraday discovered that large amounts of matter could cause long-term resistance of an electric field. Diagmatism is the name given to this type of thinking. Faraday also found that the polarization of linearly polarized light can be represented by applying an external magnet to an arc-shaped light. This is known as the Faraday effect. Later, in 1862, Faraday used spectroscopy to look for causal differences, such as changes in spectral lines caused by magnetic fields. However, the process he is currently using is unfinished, making it difficult to track changes in the spectrum. Later, Peter Zeeman continued his research, published his findings in 1897 and received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1902 for his work on the Faraday reference. Michael Faraday died on August 25, 1867 at the age of 75, thanks to his services and discoveries, making benefits for mankind to this day. Michael Faraday died on August 25, 1867, at the age of 75, and his discoveries serve humanity to this day.